Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to be here today to talk about automating reliable CI/CD pipelines for Power Platform. On this first slide, you'll see the title, Automating Reliable CI/CD Pipelines for Power Platform, along with the subtitle, Streamlining Deployments, Managing Environment Variables, and Ensuring Secure, Scalable Releases. Over the course of this presentation, we'll explore how to make your deployment processes more efficient, manage environment variables effectively, and ensure your releases are both secure and scalable. Let's get started. Welcome to this section on automating reliable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. Here, we're going to explore how implementing continuous integration and continuous deployment can really transform the way we deliver solutions. Achieving repeatable success with CI/CD means that our teams can make confident, consistent releases every time. It helps us move away from chaotic, unpredictable deployment processes and instead creates a streamlined, predictable workflow that we can rely on. In this presentation, our focus is on how to effectively implement reliable CI/CD practices specifically for the Power Platform. The goal is to help teams stop firefighting deployment issues and start feeling confident about their releases. Automating these pipelines with tools like Azure DevOps not only simplifies deployments, but also reduces the chance of human error. This acceleration means faster project delivery and happier teams. Now, it's important to recognize the challenges we face with manual deployment. Deploying Power Platform solutions often involves many manual, error-prone steps that can lead to delays and frustration. These manual processes can make deployments unpredictable and problematic, which is exactly what we want to avoid. That's why automation is such a game changer. It helps us overcome these hurdles and achieve reliable, repeatable success. Let's take a closer look at some of the common deployment pain points we face with Power Platform. First, teams often spend hours troubleshooting deployment issues instead of focusing on innovation. This loss of productivity can really impact overall project timelines and team morale. Next, connection references to external services like Outlook or SharePoint can sometimes fail to remap correctly after import. When this happens, it results in broken integrations, which hinder seamless functionality and can cause frustration. Another challenge is environment variables. They often go missing or get misconfigured, which then breaks app functionality. This can lead to significant disruptions in how the app performs and affects the user experience. And finally, manual deployment processes can become chaotic. They often lead to inconsistent results and wasted time. These issues can cause flows to break silently, apps to error out, and teams to spend hours troubleshooting instead of moving forward with their work. All of these points highlight how deployment complexities can really slow down progress. Addressing these pain points is key to improving efficiency and supporting more innovative work. Let's take a closer look at what's inside a Power Platform solution. First, we have connection references. These are essentially pointers to external services that your solution needs to connect to. It's important to remember that they need to be remapped for each environment you're deploying to, ensuring seamless integration with third-party systems and maintaining connectivity during deployments. Next, we have environment variables. Think of these as placeholders for environment-specific values like API URLs or credentials. They make your solution much more flexible and adaptable, especially when deploying across different environments, because you won't have to change the core logic, just update the variables. Moving on, Power Automate flows play a vital role. They automate processes by integrating with APIs and business logic, streamlining workflows, and boosting operational efficiency. This automation helps reduce manual effort and makes processes more reliable. Then there are Power Apps, which include both Canvas and model-driven apps. These define the user interfaces, allowing users to interact with data and processes visually and intuitively. It's all about making the experience seamless and user-friendly. Finally, we have Dataverse tables. They form the core data backbone of the solution, providing structured storage for business data. This setup enables smooth and consistent data management across all apps and flows within the Power Platform. Altogether, these components work together to create a robust, flexible, and efficient Power Platform solution that can adapt to different environments and business needs. Let's talk about the importance of environment variables and connection references. These are not things you can set once and forget about. They require ongoing attention. Their dynamic nature is actually vital for maintaining functionality across different environments like development, testing, and production. Now, if these are not managed properly, it can cause serious issues. For example, flows might break, triggers could fail, and that leads to deployment headaches and operational inefficiencies. So, proper handling is critical to keep everything running smoothly. When we export solutions, connection references often appear as empty shells. This means they need to be reassociated with valid credentials in the target environment. If we don't manage this correctly, it can cause deployment problems and delays. Let's also look at the role of connection references in deployment. They essentially act as links that connect our flows to data sources or services. During deployment, they need to be reconfigured to match the environment, which is why managing them properly is so important. Finally, environment variables are these flexible placeholders that hold values which change depending on the environment, like API endpoints or feature toggles. These are crucial because they allow us to adapt our solutions to different scenarios without changing the underlying code. Let's talk about the impact of solution structure on pipeline reliability. When solutions are messy and disorganized, it often leads to conflicts and inefficiencies. This, in turn, negatively affects how reliable our pipelines are and can cause deployment failures. Teams that keep their solutions clean and well-organized tend to experience fewer issues during deployment. Plus, these tidy solutions make automation workflows run much more smoothly. One of the key benefits of organized solutions is the use of predictable naming conventions and thorough documentation. These practices help reduce errors and speed up the deployment process, ensuring everything flows more seamlessly. Now, let's focus on naming conventions. Consistent naming and proper tracking of environment variables and connection references are absolutely critical. When solutions are messy or inconsistent, pipelines have to spend extra time resolving conflicts instead of moving forward efficiently. Finally, environment variables play a critical role here. They need to be managed carefully and consistently. When they're not, it forces pipelines to spend valuable time troubleshooting, which can slow down or even disrupt the deployment process. This highlights how essential a well-structured solution is to reliable and efficient automation. Let's talk about some key items to track in your pipeline to ensure reliable automation. First, it's crucial to document all connection references that your flows and apps depend on. Doing this makes dependencies clear and helps avoid silent failures that can be tricky to diagnose later on. Next, we need to identify and manage each environment variable used in your pipeline. Overlooking any variables can cause deployment issues, so keeping track of them helps prevent surprises down the line. Then, it's important to track every Power App and Power Automate flow involved. This guarantees that all the functional components are properly integrated and accounted for during deployment. Finally, don't forget to track your Dataverse tables. Ensuring all tables included in your solution are accounted for maintains the integrity of your deployment process. By paying attention to these key areas, you can build a more reliable, transparent pipeline that supports your overall Power Platform strategy effectively. Now, let's talk about designing robust pipelines that don't fail. One of the key factors here is automating reliable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. A common issue we see is insufficient handling of environment variables and connection references, which can easily cause deployment failures. To prevent this, robust pipelines need to manage these moving parts carefully, ensuring that deployments succeed whether we're working in development, testing, or production environments. Another critical point is secure connection management. Many generic pipeline templates struggle with this because they don't handle connections securely. But a well-designed pipeline addresses this challenge by explicitly managing connection references and ensuring they're secure at all times. Similarly, environment-specific variables are often overlooked. Without dynamic variables that adapt to each environment, deployments can stumble. Robust pipelines explicitly manage these variables, so everything works smoothly across different stages. Finally, let's consider the details within pipeline templates. Generic templates often skip over some critical elements, like managing dynamic variables or secure connections, leading to failures when applied to real projects. Addressing these details is what makes a pipeline truly reliable. In essence, by focusing on these core areas, handling environment variables, managing connections securely, and paying attention to critical details, we can build pipelines that are resilient and dependable, supporting successful deployments every time. Let's talk about some common pitfalls of copy-paste pipelines. These shortcuts might seem quick and easy, but they often lead to pipelines that are fragile and unreliable. When you rely on them, you'll find yourself constantly babysitting and troubleshooting just to keep things running smoothly. One major issue is brittle pipelines. For example, if you skip remapping connection references, your flows can fail silently without clear errors. This makes troubleshooting much more difficult and time-consuming because you might not immediately see where the problem originated. Another critical point is connection reference errors. If you ignore secure management of credentials, you risk leaks that can compromise your data and security. Plus, it creates compliance issues for your organization, which can have serious consequences. Lastly, many generic YAML scripts include hard-coded environment variables. When your environment changes, say, a server update or a new deployment, these hard-coded variables can break, causing your pipelines to fail unexpectedly. Overall, avoiding these pitfalls is essential for building reliable, secure, and maintainable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. Understanding service connections in Azure DevOps is crucial for building reliable CI/CD pipelines, especially when working with Power Platform. Often, when we encounter vague error messages, they actually stem from issues with service connections. Ensuring these are properly configured can save us a lot of troubleshooting time and help avoid common pitfalls. Service connections are what allow our pipelines to perform administrative tasks within Power Platform environments. This includes actions like importing solutions, updating variables, and other essential tasks that keep our deployments smooth. But here, the key, proper scoping and permissions are essential. If a service connection isn't correctly set up, it can lead to unauthorized errors, which can be confusing and frustrating. So, getting the setup right is a critical step in preventing those vague errors that trace back to service connection issues. Ultimately, service connections give our pipelines the authority to interact securely and effectively with Power Platform. They enable us to automate importing solutions, updating configurations, and executing administrative functions seamlessly. So, investing time in correct configuration and permissions is vital for smooth, reliable automation. Now, let's talk about managing pipeline variables and secrets to make our CI/CD pipelines for Power Platform more reliable and secure. One key aspect is simplifying credential rotation. By doing this, we ensure that our security compliance requirements are met without adding unnecessary complexity, which in turn strengthens the overall security posture of our pipeline. Another important point is referencing secrets directly in our YAML scripts. This practice keeps sensitive credentials out of the source control, reducing the risk of accidental exposure. It's a simple yet effective way to safeguard our data. We can also link Azure DevOps variable groups to Azure Key Vault. This integration allows us to manage secrets centrally and securely, making it easier to handle sensitive information across our entire pipeline. Additionally, avoiding hard-coded values is crucial. Instead, we should parameterize all environment-specific settings. This approach provides the flexibility needed to adapt to different environments smoothly, making our pipelines more robust and easier to maintain. Overall, these strategies, simplified credential management, direct secret referencing, centralized secret storage, and parameterization, work together to enhance both security and flexibility in our CI/CD processes. Let's look at a real-world example of how variable mismanagement can lead to costly errors. In this case, the team was trying to automate reliable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. Now, what went wrong? Proper parameterization and environment-specific variables could have prevented this expensive mistake. This situation really underscores the importance of environment scoping when managing variables. If variables are not scoped correctly, it becomes easy to accidentally deploy or run something in the wrong environment, which can cause serious issues. Now, moving on to preventative measures, logs did show some unauthorized access, but pinpointing the cause was complicated. Without environment-specific variables, troubleshooting becomes even more difficult because you don't have clear boundaries or context. It's more challenging to identify where the problem originated. And here's a key example of global variable mismanagement. A finance team had defined an API URL as a global variable, but they didn't scope it to specific environments. As a result, during production deployment, the system ended up using the development API endpoint. This caused flows to fail authentication silently, which can be very confusing and hard to diagnose. So the main takeaway here is that managing variables properly, especially with environment scoping, is critical to prevent errors, streamline troubleshooting, and ensure smooth deployments. It's a vital part of building reliable, scalable automation processes. Let's take a closer look at the anatomy of a Power Platform pipeline. First, you'll notice that service connections are mapped per environment, not globally. This modular design is really important because it helps minimize errors and makes the whole system easier to maintain. By keeping connections specific to each environment, we reduce the risk of accidental misconfigurations that could impact other environments. Next, we have secrets, which are securely referenced via Azure Key Vault. This is a best practice because it safeguards sensitive information, like credentials or API keys, ensuring they aren't exposed within the pipeline. It's all about keeping our data secure while maintaining smooth automation. Moving on to variables, these are declared at appropriate scopes, whether global, stage-specific, or job-specific. Proper scoping gives us flexibility because we can reuse variables where needed, and it also helps prevent configuration errors that might occur if variables are too broadly or narrowly defined. Then we see how jobs organize the logical tasks within each stage. This organization enhances clarity and efficiency, making it easier to troubleshoot and manage the pipeline. When tasks are grouped logically, the entire process becomes more streamlined. Finally, a well-structured pipeline includes distinct stages such as build, test, and deploy. Breaking the process into these stages ensures a systematic approach to software delivery, from development to deployment, helping us deliver quality more reliably and consistently. Let's talk about the benefits of having a well-structured pipeline for your Power Platform projects. When we automate using reliable CI/CD pipelines, we're essentially transforming what could be fragile, error-prone scripts into robust, repeatable processes that you can count on day after day. This shift significantly boosts both the reliability and efficiency of your workflows. With a solid pipeline, deployments become predictable and dependable, which is especially important as your solutions grow and evolve. Scalability is a key advantage here. It ensures that your automation remains effective, no matter how large or complex your projects become. Another major benefit is the reduction of operator errors. When dependencies are hidden or variable scopes aren't clear, mistakes happen more often. A well-structured pipeline minimizes these issues, leading to smoother operations and fewer disruptions. Finally, clarity is crucial. Using clear, modular YAML workflows makes it easier for new team members to understand and maintain the pipelines. This means your team can quickly get up to speed and contribute effectively, keeping your projects agile and resilient. All in all, a well-structured pipeline really empowers your team to deliver high-quality, scalable solutions with confidence. Now, let's talk about building a flexible YAML pipeline step by step. One of the key aspects is adding smoke tests to validate deployments before moving forward. These tests are crucial because they help ensure that the deployment was successful and that the system is functioning as expected before proceeding further. Think of them as a quality check to catch issues early. Next, after importing components into the environment, it's important to explicitly update environment variables and remap connection references. This step guarantees that the environment is properly configured and that all connections point to the correct resources. It's all about making sure everything works seamlessly in the target environment. Another important point is referencing variable groups and secrets dynamically. Instead of hard-coding values, using dynamic references enhances both security and manageability. It allows for seamless updates and keeps sensitive information protected, which is a best practice in managing CI/CD pipelines. Finally, transitioning from theory to practice means parameterizing environment-specific values rather than hard-coding them. This approach provides the flexibility needed to adapt to different environments easily. By doing so, your pipeline becomes more robust and versatile, supporting various deployment scenarios without major rework. Together, these steps help us create a pipeline that is reliable, secure, and flexible, key qualities for effective Power Platform deployment automation. Let's talk about parameterizing your pipeline for environment flexibility. This is a crucial step in automating reliable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. By parameterizing pipelines, we can significantly reduce technical debt and make our deployment processes much more agile. This means that updates and changes become smoother and more efficient. One of the key benefits of this approach is that changing variable groups or parameters allows us to update configurations without having to dig into the pipeline code itself. This simplifies maintenance and drastically reduces the risk of errors during updates. Supporting multiple environments is also made easier with this strategy. You can handle different URLs, credentials, and toggles for various deployment scenarios simply by adjusting your parameters and variable groups. This flexibility is essential for managing diverse environments effectively. And to prevent fixed values from causing issues, we avoid embedding hard-coded values in YAML scripts. Instead, we rely on these parameters and variable groups to keep our scripts adaptable across different environments. Overall, this approach ties directly into our goal of making deployment processes more flexible, reliable, and easy to maintain. Let's talk about how we can securely handle credentials with Azure Key Vault to support reliable CI/CD pipelines for the Power Platform. Maintaining compliance and reducing the risk of accidental credential exposure is crucial, and Azure Key Vault helps us achieve that. By using it, organizations can better adhere to regulatory requirements and protect sensitive data effectively. One of the key advantages is the ability to rotate passwords or keys simply by updating the entries in Key Vault without needing to change our pipelines. This approach minimizes disruptions and keeps our security practices up to date automatically. Another important point is that we can reference secrets directly in our pipeline YAML files at runtime. This means accessing credentials during automated workflows becomes much simpler and more streamlined, reducing manual handling and potential errors. Finally, Azure Key Vault allows us to store credentials securely outside of our source control systems. This ensures that sensitive information remains protected from unauthorized access or accidental exposure, which is essential for maintaining the integrity and security of our solutions. Overall, integrating Azure Key Vault into our CI/CD processes not only enhances security, but also simplifies management, helping us stay compliant and resilient in a rapidly evolving digital environment. Handling connection references in pipelines is a crucial part of automating reliable CI/CD processes for the Power Platform. When we automate this remapping, it ensures that deployments work smoothly and consistently across different environments. This not only simplifies the deployment process, but also significantly reduces the chances of errors slipping in during deployment. If we skip this step, things can get tricky. Flows and apps might fail silently, or worse, throw confusing errors that are hard to diagnose. This can lead to unreliable deployments and make it difficult for the solutions to function correctly across various stages. So, what's the key here? After importing a solution, connection references need to be remapped. This involves including specific pipeline steps that automatically bind each connection reference to the right resource. We do this by using environment-scoped variables, which makes the process dynamic and adaptable to different environments. In essence, remapping connection references is about making sure that every connection points to the correct resource in each environment. Automating this process within your pipelines is what keeps your deployments stable, predictable, and efficient. Let's walk through the typical Power Platform deployment pipeline flow. First, after exporting the solution from the source environment, we store it as a pipeline artifact. This step is crucial because it secures the solution and prepares it for further processing down the line. Next, we import the solution into the target environment, which is the actual deployment step where the solution becomes operational in its new location. Once imported, we need to ensure that all connection references are properly remapped to align with the target environment. This remapping guarantees seamless integration and connectivity after deployment, preventing any broken links or failed connections. Following that, we set or validate environment variables. This step is vital because it ensures that the configuration settings are correct and consistent across environments, maintaining the solution's functionality. Finally, we remap connection references and set environment variables, which collectively help maintain a smooth transition and reliable operation across different environments. This pipeline flow highlights the importance of automation and precision in deploying solutions confidently and efficiently in the Power Platform. Automated testing plays a crucial role in adding a safety net to your CI/CD pipeline. It helps us ensure that our software releases are both reliable and stable, reducing the risk of issues reaching production. When tests fail, teams are immediately notified, which is essential for quick resolution. These notifications can come through various channels like Teams, email, or Azure DevOps alerts, making sure everyone stays informed without delay. Another key point is that if smoke tests fail, the pipeline automatically halts. This automatic stop prevents broken or incomplete releases from making it into production, protecting the end user experience. We can also integrate tools like PowerShell scripts or custom Power Automate flows into the pipeline. These tools automate the execution of smoke tests right after deployment, ensuring that testing is seamless and consistent. Finally, smoke tests are designed to catch silent failures early, before users notice. They verify that core functionalities, such as triggering a flow or submitting a form, work as expected after deployment. This way, we maintain confidence in our releases and keep our platforms running smoothly. Let's talk about how we can make our deployments safer and more reliable. First, it's important to treat failed deployments as learning opportunities. Instead of seeing them as setbacks, we use these moments to analyze what went wrong and improve our future releases. This approach really helps us build confidence in our automated deployment processes over time. Next, proactive failure detection is key. By leveraging pipeline logs and Power Platform analytics, we can spot failure patterns early on. This way, we can identify issues before they become bigger problems, allowing us to address them promptly and prevent escalation. In cases where things do go wrong, redeploying the last known good build is a smart move. It helps us restore service quickly, minimizing downtime and keeping our users happy. Speed is essential when maintaining service continuity. And to support all of this, storing every deployed solution as a versioned artifact is crucial. This setup makes it easy to roll back to a previous version if needed, ensuring we can quickly restore the system to a stable state without hassle. All these strategies, learning from failures, proactive detection, rapid restoration, and versioned storage, work together to create a robust, reliable deployment process that aligns with our goal of automating Power Platform solutions efficiently and safely. Let's talk about continuous improvement through feedback loops. The key here is to see deployment not as a one-time task, but as a living process that evolves with each release. This mindset helps us foster a culture of ongoing improvement, making deployment more predictable and reliable over time. Effective CI/CD pipelines thrive on continuous refinement, and that refinement is driven by detailed feedback. By analyzing deployment logs and analytics, we can identify areas where things can be improved and also catch potential issues before they affect users. These insights are crucial for making targeted enhancements. Over time, as we implement these iterative improvements, our pipelines become more resilient, predictable, and easier to maintain. This continuous refinement means that with each release, our deployment processes adapt and improve, reducing surprises and increasing our confidence in automation. A vital part of this process is systematically reviewing logs and test outcomes after every deployment. This approach turns failures into learning opportunities, allowing us to expand smoke tests, improve rollback mechanisms, and fine-tune variables to prevent conflicts. Azure DevOps pipeline logs play a significant role here. They capture every variable, service call, and test result, giving us a detailed dataset to analyze deployment outcomes. Meanwhile, Power Platform analytics help us detect subtle issues like API errors, missing connections, or slow flows before they impact end users. In essence, by continuously analyzing and refining based on this feedback, we create a robust, reliable deployment pipeline that evolves intelligently with each release. As we wrap up, let's focus on some best practices for Power Platform CI/CD. First, embracing continuous monitoring and feedback loops is essential. By doing so, we can constantly refine our processes and catch issues before they become recurring problems. This proactive mindset helps ensure our pipelines stay scalable and adaptable as our needs evolve. Next, securing sensitive credentials is vital. Using Azure Key Vault integration allows us to protect secrets effectively and makes rotation simpler. It's a security best practice that also streamlines management. Another critical point is managing environment variables and connection references carefully. Proper tracking and mapping prevent silent failures, making sure our transitions between environments are smooth and our functionality remains reliable. When it comes to automation, start small. Automate individual pipeline components first, then gradually increase complexity. This step-by-step approach helps manage progress effectively and reduces the risk of overwhelming the system. Finally, remember that automation isn't just about removing manual steps. It's about building a disciplined deployment process that your team can trust. Reliable automation empowers your team to focus less on firefighting and more on innovation and improvement. Together, these practices help us create robust, secure, and efficient CI/CD pipelines that support continuous growth and success in the Power Platform.